Hey, are you ready? Welcome to the St. Michael podcast. Welcome. Welcome to the St. Michael podcast, one man's attempt at business, family, and comedy. I am your humble and gracious host, Michael Agbajan, and I would like to welcome you to episode 13. Welcome to episode 13. For all my new listeners, welcome to the party. And for all my day ones and old listeners, thanks for joining me again. If you do get a chance, I would like for you to please subscribe or leave a review, whether it be on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. This is a video podcast too, so you subscribing to the YouTube helps a lot. You also, whether you be my friends, my family, strangers, we're all friends here. So if you can go to Apple Podcasts, leave a review. 5 stars really helps, but whatever you want to put, it's all good to me. But yeah, welcome to episode 13. We are in a quarantine. I think I mentioned that in the last episode, and it's still continuing that we're still in this quarantine. We're about 2 weeks in to this quarantine, and this is just so the whole coronavirus thing is going on. Everyone knows about this. This is very different times. We've never been through something like this before, but we've pretty much been locked down, out of work, in the crib for probably the last 2 weeks. We're coming on 2 weeks today, Wednesday. And it's a little bit different, just because, like there's 70-year-old, like our neighbors who are older, 70, years old or older. They're asking me like, hey, what's going on? What is all this? I'm thinking, you've never been through anything like this? Like, we've never been through anything like this, So the fact that they're asking me like, what do you think is going on? It's a little bit peculiar because, for someone who's above the age of 70 and never have seen anything like this, it's a little nerve wracking, but you got to pretty much be prepared for anything, but we're 2 weeks into this, and it hasn't been so hard for me just because I consider myself a homebody. Some people don't really consider themselves a homebody. They consider themselves a person who just loves to do what they want to do when they want to do it. But me, on the other hand, I could be at home pretty much all day. I mean, I could be outdoors too, meeting people, doing all that, socializing. But being at home, I'm cool with that. There's a lot of things I need to do, and doing them at home is actually an easier way for me to focus. I don't feel uncomfortable being at home, basically, but not so much for my wife, Bly, because for her, this whole quarantine has her going a little la vida loca, a little loca. She's not taking it very well. She wants to go back to work. She is annoyed by being in the house, because when it rains, it gets a little bit more difficult because we can't really go anywhere, except for stay in the house. So we can't even like go take walks or, anything like that. The best we could do is probably take a drive. But she's not liking being in the house. She's a very outdoorsy person, but she is making it work. It is working, to the best of our abilities. I'm making it easy on her, giving her space. And then also, I'm getting my time to get my rest in, get my breaks and all that. So I think that we are making it work, balancing, this whole being stuck in the house with each other. Because in China, they're just now getting over and starting to go into their recovery rate after being affected by the coronavirus. And now that they're kind of like getting out of their quarantine, their divorce rate is going up, which is a little bit expected. When you're in close quarters with somebody, you will be tested because after this whole quarantine is over, given how some of these relationships are going after this whole quarantine is over, some people will leave in more than just their house. You know what I mean? They're going to leave a little bit more than just their house after this whole quarantine because, man, you have to balance, being with each other. You have to balance even being by yourself. You have to be balancing being with your kids because I'll tell you right now, going Corona with your kids, not having the Corona, but this little Corona quarantine, man, I wonder if I can say that 5 times fast. Corona quarantine, Corona quarantine, Corona quarantine. I cannot. But yeah, going through this whole Corona quarantine with kids adds an extra layer of difficulty. This is not for novices. This is expert level balancing when you have kids in the house. We're still doing everything for them as far as waking up in the morning, teaching them, they're understanding all the months that they're in, we're updating with the dates, or, we're going with their writing skills, everything, math skills, for them, reading, just keeping them up to speed. We do that every morning, at least Monday through Friday, for about an hour again. And then we go into breakfast. No, we go into breakfast first. Then we go into the hour of that. And then we have snack time, play time, things like that. But that's getting a little bit old, but we're still pushing through, and there's a few things that could help you push through. Like some people are using like Netflix and YouTube and all that. Like what's helping me, at least me and my wife, is Ozark. If you're not familiar with Ozark, it might not be your show. I feel like this is similar to how people were talking about Game of Thrones, where they're talking about, oh, you need to watch Game of Thrones. But no, Ozark, I've been with Ozark, which is a series that's on Netflix about a guy who launders money. It's kind of similar to like a Breaking Bad. Has, I think, Jason Bateman. He is the main actor on there. And, he's super versatile because he could do both comedy and he could do serious, without it looking like he's trying. Because, Jim Carrey tried that to do serious and people kind of wanted him to stay in that little funny lane. Same thing with the guy in The Office. Was it John Carroll? What's his name? The main guy for The Office. Him. They wanted him to kind of stay in the comedy lane. He tried to do serious roles. Didn't even work for him. But at least in this Ozark, it really works. We're on season 3. They dropped it a few days ago, and I have to keep myself from binging. I have to really keep myself from binging because that's usually what I do. I want to watch them all to kind of see what happens. But during this whole quarantine thing, you can't really binge per se because you want to kind of limit your consumption to make sure that because now I got time, so I want to limit my consumption to where I kind of just go through it like a regular series. I'm not doing one a day, but I am doing like 2 episodes a day, and I'm enjoying it, and, I'm wondering what's going to, come next, for me, because I haven't really been doing too much TV. And, but Ozark, Netflix has been kind of putting me through. But even on another note, I don't know if with this quarantine, I don't know if it's supposed to come with crazy dreams, but my dreams lately have been like crazy, I used to dream. I used to have like 2 dreams every night, right? Basic ass dreams, nothing crazy, just, I'll have dreams of me paying bills, you know what I mean? Or dreams of me like talking to an employee, or dreams of me just doing some regular eating breakfast, But now my dreams, I'm having like 5 to like 7 dreams a night. That's a lot. And they're like all completely different. In one dream, I might be getting cheated on. That's annoying. I had one where, some older woman is like hitting on my wife or whatever. And then like then they start kind of like cheating, like kind of like getting close to each other right in front of me. I felt disrespected, but yet I kind of liked it, but then I was offended. That's a little bit weird. I had another dream where, I'm super late to picking up my kids from daycare or from school, wherever you call it. Like usually we have to pick them up by 6:00, 6:15 at the latest before that, that late fee kick in. And, in my dream, I'm picking them up at like 7:30, 8:00. And the reason why I haven't picked them up yet is because I'm like in the middle of a conversation. I'm like, man, it's getting dark. I need to pick up my kids. I'm getting super trouble with everybody if I didn't pick them up. I know that's weird. I don't know. It's not even weird. It's just like, what the hell? I'm getting arguments in my dreams, or, just random, like one of them, I was cutting my hair and I cut my beard off for no reason. I'm just kind of frustrated why I cut it off, and I'm just weird dreams. And these are happening back to back in a single night. And usually I don't really remember a lot of these dreams, but now I'm remembering these dreams, and I'm having a lot of them back to back. So I wonder if this quarantine and being in the house like this and being isolated has a lot to do with your dream state. That's pretty interesting. But either way, no matter how bad the dreams are or how good the dreams are, your boy's still flossing. You know what I mean? I'm still flossing. I just floss, actually. So there ain't nothing in these teeth. Completely clean. What do you call that? What's that? That's between your teeth. Plaque free. My teeth are plaque free right now. So I hope that you out there still flossing day and night, because if you aren't, you need to, because at a time like this during this quarantine, the last thing you want is a cavity. That's the last thing you want. So get the flossing. The Waterboys, surprisingly, we're doing really well. I don't know if you consider the Waterboys an essential business because we clean cars, I guess. I'm not sure if you consider it that, but we're doing well despite a few of the cracks. But my employees are still eating. They're still eating weekly, and a lot of our customers, where they would get it at their office, they're now ordering our service to their home. So we're coming to their home, but where the cracks are happening in our business is that a lot of, 40% of my business was like corporate contracts. So the whole Amazon thing, that's on pause until further notice. The corporate high rises, that's on pause. That's dropped down dramatically. So right now we're kind of relying upon going home to home and people's apartments, things like that, So, but so far, so good. People ordering our services regularly, getting their cars clean regularly, keeping our guys busy. So I want to appreciate everyone who's supporting the Waterboys right now, because I'm like, man, it's one thing to be a recession-proof business, but I think I might have a pandemic-proof business. I think that's a new layer of how resilient your business could be. A pandemic-proof business that needs to be next on anybody's list. But actually, the Barber School isn't as protected as I would say the Waterboys is, because right now the Barber School, Michael's Barber Academy, Irving, Texas, we've closed the door. This is our second week that we're actually closing the doors. We weren't open any of last week. This is our second week that we have not had any students in or customers, but we switched and fully switched our classroom curriculum onto online. So a lot of the students are learning online. And I know it sounds weird, because how do you learn trying to be a barber online? So a lot of this is going to be taught via Zoom. So, like with videos, so them seeing how to properly cut hair. And then also the practical of them actually practicing is going to be taught online and tested online as well. And the classroom work, whether it be biology or the history of barbering, et cetera, all the chapters are going to be taught online as well. It's a temporary emergency measure that TDLR, which is the Texas Department of Licensing and Registration, in Texas, obviously, and they're letting barber schools and cosmetology schools actually, provide an online opportunity for the students that aren't able to come in, which has never been done. So maybe after this emergency time, they're going to keep it going. If they do keep it going, that'd be great. But the issue is that the overhead for the barber school, we're looking at like $12,000 a month that we spend. And like some months could be more, 12 to 15,000 a month that we spend. And, without a revolving set of students coming through the doors, covering that's going to be difficult, and they've extended the quarantine. It was supposed to end. It's supposed to only be for 2 weeks. So it's supposed to come, like everything was supposed to at least go back to normal, April 1st. But President Trump extended it, the social distancing and the measures all the way to April 30th. So we're seeing that we're going to go through this whole break for another 30 days, and I don't even think then we're going to be in full recovery. Honestly, I really don't think so. I feel like this is going to go all the way to June, if not later, so pretty much, we have to figure out right now. We're in the middle of trying to make decisions on, how we would like to take advantage of, the emergency funds that are available through the Small Business, Administration, the SBA. Right now, like I told you on the last episode about, SBA Form 5, which is a way to get, emergency funds or loans for your business. But, that's a little bit awkward because taking loans for a business, at a time where you can't make money to keep your business going. And then when you are able to make money, you have to pay back those loans. That's a difficult one, so, we're in that moment now of trying to figure out, like, can we make it all the way to when things get back to normal and covering our overhead, but if you are in a business or if you're, like have any type of business that's going on, they are actually given an opportunity where there's a business grant. And, you can find that link in the show notes where you'll be able to get this grant. And the way the grant works is that you can apply for the loan, and whether you get the loan or not, for this business, whether you apply for the loan, whether you get it or not, they would provide you with a $10,000 advance, depending on how many employees you have. But, let's just say it's $10,000. So let's say you get the $10,000 and they say you do not qualify for the loan. You still get to keep that $10,000 and you do not have to pay it back. It is considered a grant. But let's say they do say you qualify for $75,000 for a loan. You get to keep that plus the $10,000, for your bills and overhead and all that. But it is a first come, first serve. And it is available, right now. So best case scenarios, if you are doing business, that you would be able to receive a $10,000 grant through the SBA, but people are kind of like in, I would say, somewhat of like a weird like panic. I wouldn't say that. No, I'm not sure the appropriate word would be, but they're a little bit still in this whole deep confusion because they're canceling school, but yet they keep extending it. They're saying that school's going to be back, May, but this semester is pretty, if you're in school, if you're graduating, this school year is pretty much over, I know that people are scrambling, trying to do things online, but the school year is pretty much over. So it's probably going to be the end of school. This Corona situation has interrupted school to where you're probably just gonna have to start back on regular, terms in August, so hopefully that doesn't um, carry over too much. But, if you are graduating or if you are in school, hopefully you're able to find solutions, because right now the best solutions are being provided to those who have a high income, not those who have a low income, because, having a reliable, source of Wi-Fi and internet and, having a laptop and a computer and having that available is the only way you could kind of make these contingency plans for school work. And a lot of these people aren't getting that opportunity. So hopefully, hopefully people are finding, solutions to their problems right now. Because only thing I'm worried about now, I guess for myself in this house is, I'm taking care of myself. I'm making sure that, I'm working out. So, you're not going to be able to recognize me after this quarantine. Your boy's going to be chiseled, but that depends upon my diet, because my diet's not the greatest right now. But I am working out pretty strong, trying not to eat up everything in the house, because it's difficult, and the hard part with eating up everything in the house is that, you have to go on these grocery runs. And, going through the grocery store at times like this, it's odd too, because you look at everything as germs, and one time we were going to do like, a few days ago, I cooked, shrimp, fried catfish and grits, me and Bly had that, but see, we didn't have the catfish, and I need to go get some shrimp. So I went to Fiesta, shout out to Fiesta. And when I got there was a line to get into the grocery store, and I was just like, whoa, okay. I thought this was just for like places like, Sam's and all that, but there's a line to get in the grocery store. So I waited in that line for about 10 minutes, got into it, and I got into, this guy got me, I was so annoyed. I don't know if I want, this is besides the fact, but when I got into the grocery store, I was looking for a basket. I was like, hey, can I get a basket? And, the woman was like, hey, she called somebody. It's like, hey, this guy needs a basket. He had a basket right next to him. He picks up the basket. He looks at me, and then he starts looking for more baskets to carry so I guess he could have more baskets ready. So I see him pick up the basket, and mind you, I'm standing there. I'm like, hey, I need a basket. And he's looking in each aisle, I was like, bro, I need a basket. Give me a fucking basket right now. What are you talking about? What are you doing? Like going around looking for all these baskets. I'm right here right now. Give me it right now. So he gave me a basket. Eventually, after I have to get his attention, say, hey, I need a basket right now. And I'm going around, and all I'm thinking is, like, I had gloves on. I didn't have a mask, but some people in there who had masks. And, they didn't have as many groceries as they needed. So that's when I realized that grocery stores, while they are essential, they're going through it too, trying to order the supplies they need to stay stocked, because they didn't have a lot of stuff. I went back there for some catfish. Your boy had to get catfish nuggets. I was like, no regular catfish? They said, if you want a whole catfish, you're looking at $23. I'm like, I ain't spending $23 for a whole catfish that hasn't even been deboned. You know what I mean? So, I had to get catfish nuggets. I had to get catfish nuggets, and then, got some shrimp. Checked out. Came home, but then I had to like sanitize all my hands. Had to sanitize my steering wheel. Like taking off the gloves. I was wondering, do I throw away the gloves or do I keep the gloves? Do I sanitize the gloves? So these grocery runs, those got a little bit, odd too, so that's what I'm trying not to do, is like eat up everything in the house, diversifying what I'm eating, eat, like taking the vitamins that I need to. So my immune is is in tip top shape. Working out, drinking water. I've been drinking more water lately. I even have water right now. Mm-hmm. Drinking more water lately. Oh, and as another quick fact, someone asked this. Someone said, "How do you drink your water? Do you drink it? Do you like to drink your water ice cold, or do you like to drink it room temp?" And someone answered, if you really drink water, you drink it room temp. And it hit me because I used to drink water, with ice in it all the time, ice cold. But when you drink it ice cold, you don't drink as much water. When you drink it room temp, you could go through a whole bottle, like 16 ounces in a single sitting. Whereas if it's cold, you don't really go through it because, when water is ice cold, it's a little bit more difficult to drink. I know I'm not trying to tell you how to drink your water, but I'm telling you that since I've changed into drinking ice cold water all the time to drinking room temperature water, I've been drinking a lot more water, and it's true that if you really drink water, it's really room temp because you're not going to be drinking ice cold water all day, all the time, so, yeah, I've been drinking my water, getting my sleep, sometimes a little bit too much sleep. I've been taking care of my work. I've been creating what I need to for myself, writing all the jokes that I need to for stand up. Oh, and I have an open mic that I'm going to tomorrow, Thursday, and this open mic is at the Agbajan residence. It's going to be an open mic that I'm doing for my boys and Bly. So we're going to have, a little comedy. I'm going to do it just like how I do any open mic. I'm going to have my time limit. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to record myself, how I do. I have my jokes written up. It's going to be a tough crowd because, you have someone who, the age differences in the crowd with this open mic is going to be about 30-year age difference. So I'm not sure if I want to really attack it at jokes for kids and jokes for adults, but that's again something I have to figure out. But I'm a little bit nervous too, because I'm like, man, I get it now, like preparing, because I would get nervous for the open mics that I would go to, at Backdoor Comedy or like Hyenas. But then when I get on stage, it's, I'm not nervous anymore. But now that I set up to do open mics at the house, for the family, it makes you a little bit nervous then too. And it actually creates like a goal, of like setting up like, okay, like I got to get my jokes in and write them all through by the time, Thursday comes, because that's when showtime is, and I am setting up this open mic myself. So, we'll provide you with footage, as it comes. So look forward to that. But, I really want, you to look at this time as an opportunity to like charge up, let me give you an example of what I mean by charge up. Okay. If you're familiar with hip hop at all, which you should be, the top genre in the world, music genre in the world. Okay, when Lil Wayne went to jail, when Lil Boosie went to jail, or Meek Mill, when they went to jail, you would say, oh man, they're stuck in jail. They're missing out on all these opportunities of like doing music and doing shows and doing all that, right? But if you really break it down, as a law of averages, that why they're stuck in jail or whatever, let's say it's 3 months, let's say it's 3 years, all the things they would have done had they not been in jail, it's in essence being deferred, So, it doesn't cancel itself out. It's deferred. So in essence, why when they get out of jail, just like when Lil Boosie got out of jail, or, Lil Wayne or Meek Mill, when they got out of jail, they had so many opportunities. I'm talking about everyone wants to work with them. And that's happening for months on end, years on end. Everyone's trying to work with them because they haven't worked with them for however long. So, it's not as if like, if you're taking a break now, that you're losing out on anything. This is actually like you charging up or almost pulling back that slingshot for you to really go into that high level of success, to really meet those opportunities that you weren't able to meet before because you were quarantined or you were on, everything was taking a pause. But right after that pause, everything's going to go up. I'm talking about events are going to go up like crazy. So, if you're a married, what do you call it? A wedding coordinator, if you do cakes, if you do anything events, you're going to have so many event opportunities after this whole thing is over, Also, if you do music, if you do shows, anything like that, so many opportunities because, like, again, these dreams are pretty much deferred. They're not canceled, but they're deferred. So this is like the perfect time to just prepare for that slingshot, and, there's a phrase, I actually got this from Ozark, but they said, never let a good crisis go to waste, and why all this crisis is happening. Again, like I told you, there's opportunities into buying, different stocks. There's opportunities in finally getting a loan for your business that you haven't been able to get ever, because during a time like this where, there's a lot of confusion going around, there's a lot of like, will my business be able to make it? Things like that. There's not very many times where you're going to be able to be tested like this. That's the opportunity. I know you hear music that like if you're in blues or if you're in, sorry, this charge is going through. Oh, okay. When 12:30 hits, that's when automatic charges go through. So those sounds, that's money in the bank, So when you heard that sound, this is what I hear. It's money time. Yeah. So back to what I was saying is that, when you taking care of these opportunities or like preparing yourself for what's to come, is going to skyrocket you into finding that real success and that real opportunity. Actually what I was saying was like, if you're in music or in blues and all that, when you get your heart broken, your music elevates so much higher, right? Like, cause you're able to go deep down into your emotions where you weren't able to get into your emotions before, right? But you have to have your heart broken in order to get there, right? To get that deep. Now, the same thing applies in life, that when you have moments like this, again, times that we've never seen before, and anytime there's things like that, like the depression, the swine flu, there's all these different type of situations that we've been hit with in our past. When you're tested with things like that, it lets you know what you're capable of. It lets you know how creative are you really, you know what I mean? And you won't fail because you're looking to survive. So you're going to find the path that's needed for you to maximize your survival, So just look at this time as an opportunity to really like dig deep, don't feel guilty if you're not doing anything, cause this is finally your time to rest and, like finally catch up, on, like taking care of yourself, because I feel like you should take care of yourself before you try to take care of anything else, so get right with yourself first, and figure out what's best for yourself before you try to figure out what's best for your business, what's best for your family, or what's best for anybody else. Take that time which you have right now to get right with yourself, and then understand that the opportunity that you're given right now, that you're positioning yourself to be slingshotted into real levels of success, I also have some other news too. There's I'm not sure if you remember, we talked about the ducks. I mentioned it on my Instagram, but then we have these ducks in the backyard. They've been with us for probably around 8 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. So about 2 months. And we called him Ricky Bobby. Now, when I shared this news that we had these ducks coming to the backyard, my sister-in-law was like, "Oh, those are mallards." And I was just like, "What are mallards?" She was like, "Oh, those are really nice ducks." So I guess we got the fancy ducks in our backyard, and I called them Ricky Bobby, right? Posed for the frame. And, but then I realized that Ricky and Bobby is not Bobby with a Y, it's Bobby with an I. That, one's a male, one's a female. And, in our backyard, they've laid eggs, 14 eggs to be precise, in our backyard. So I've been dealing kind of a little bit with that because the female duck, the female mallard, has been with her eggs probably for the last 3 weeks, where she's just literally on top of her eggs, rain, sleet, or snow. So it's been raining on her. She's on top of those eggs, and, I haven't been able to really turn on the pump, because my wife doesn't want me to have that pump on, because when the ducks or the ducklings get here, she doesn't want them to hop in the pool and then, like them go into like the little water drainage, part, because so right now the pool has not been pumping for the last, I would say, 2 weeks. And the pool is so effing green, so super green. And if you don't already know, pools are the worst. They're the bane of my existence at this house. I can't stand the pool, they're good when you're hopping in them and having a good time, but when you're not using a pool, a complete pain. And then some people say, "Oh, why don't you just hire someone to take care of, your pool?" I'm not gonna pay someone $150 a month to come by and just drop chemicals when I got the time to do it myself. And I think it's good for me to learn how to do it myself. But man, it's annoying. So either I spend $150 a month to get someone to take care of the pool, or I do it myself. But I've chosen the latter, to do it on my own. But it's really frustrating because now that we haven't ran the pump for the last 2 weeks, is dead green. And it takes, so all the work that I haven't been doing over the last 2 weeks has been concentrated. And now I have to do 10 times more work just to get the green out and just to get the pool looking right. So that's a little bit annoying, So I hope that whenever the ducklings do come, that everything goes well. I don't want there to be any type of incident or whatever, but that's a little nice little distraction that's happening during this this time here at the Agbajan residence, But I actually thought of a quote. I'm gonna mention this now. I know it's a little bit late into the episode, but I realized that with a lot of people, they talk about the problem to everyone except the person they have the problem with. That's the problem, right? And if you are in a situation where you find yourself talking about the problem except to the person you actually have the problem with, you need to realize that is the problem. One major change that came into, my marriage with my wife is that, actually in our relationship, just before we got married, when I would have issues, I would, kind of talk to people that was close to me about the issue, and seeing how I could solve that issue or what I should do and all this. And, they'll have their ways of saying, you should do this, you should do that. But it really didn't solve the problem because I didn't go to the person that actually had the problem with. And as soon as I changed up and I started talking to my wife, well then, girlfriend about like what problems I had, whether it be in our communication or anything like that, that's when our relationship started going upwards dramatically. Just because I didn't, and from there on, I didn't rely upon anybody else to talk to about problems that were between her and I, you know? So, I don't know who needs to hear this, but I do want you to know that if you're talking about the problem to everyone except for the person you have the problem with, you need to understand that is the problem, and that is not proper communication. You need to communicate with the person that you're having issues with, even though it's hard. See, that's what people don't want to do. They don't want to do the hard part, It's very difficult to do that, and it's awkward, but it's necessary. So I hope that helps somebody also, in this. And then also, on the fun tip, this it's like Savage Hour, on Instagram, which is my main social play stay. I like Instagram. Tory Lanez had a live on there, and if you're not aware of what going live is, it's when you put your camera on live and you're interacting on this camera and everyone's able to see you live, live and direct, right? Well, I was surprised when DJs were doing 2,000, 3,000 people in their live, and then DJ D Nice, he had a live DJ set and he had 100,000, 102,000 people in his live, and I was like, wow, that's such an amazing amount of people. Well, Tory Lanez, he has something called Quarantine Radio, quarantine, and it is super fire. I just want to let you know that Quarantine Radio is super fire. So tune into that. But he broke a record by having the most people on live at one time. He had 310,000 people on his live. And to me, that's shocking, and so I feel like this is also even for him, creating new opportunities for him, because that's a whole nother lane going into, like, I wouldn't say radio, but going to being kind of similar to like a radio personality, and seeing that everyone's starting to battle out with these live showings online, so that's a lot of unique content creation that's happening online. I think that it's pretty crazy, that that's happening. But I'd like to tell you again, I appreciate you joining me on episode 13. Stay strong in these times. If you don't have anybody, you have me. You could always talk to me about anything that is, and I do talk to a lot of people. Some people who need help, because people do reach out and have questions, but it's just nothing that I could really put on here sometimes, just because I don't want to spread people's business. But then also, I guess that's how relationships, when you're talking to someone new and they're talking to you about things that they're going through, I just rather be there to listen and just see how I could help. So, in times like this, if there are any, if you need someone to talk to, you can always talk to me, even though it might not seem like I have time. I always got time to have that conversation with anybody. Also, just be aware and that understand that we're all in this together, and that, like, miracles will happen. Just understand that while everyone looks at the worst case scenario never really happens. So all these little doomsday type thought process that people are giving towards what could happen, and how business is being interrupted, something's going to come along and bring us to the promised land. Really, I know that sounds kind of lofty, but it's true. Something's going to come along and really shock us in how, because just as quick as this came, is as quick as it's going to go. That's how anything goes. As quick as it came is as quick as it's going to go. Something's going to come along and solve this problem, and we'll remember this time as like, wow, this is really a crazy time. And I'm kind of glad I even have this as something that like is testing me because, I'm pretty sure that people who went through the Great Depression, I'm pretty sure they use that story of them going through the Great Depression all their life. Like, I went through the Great Depression, so, I know for sure I'm gonna be like, you ain't went through nothing if you ain't been through no quarantine like we went through no quarantine. That's where we're all gonna definitely have that. So if you're a generation where you're in this, you got to definitely keep that story and say, hey, look, you ain't as strong as me. Because your boy went through 9/11. Your boy went through, quarantine. Your boy went through a recession, the Great Recession. There's a lot of things that I went through, So, again, thank you for joining me on this episode. And make sure that you subscribe onto the YouTube, go to the Apple Podcast. If you get a chance, I would love that. I really appreciate it. And always remember that I love you. Oop. And as a last note, make sure that your people's straight. Check on your people. Make sure they're straight. Be grateful for all that you have. And always remember to help one another.